People in Oakland may be relieved to hear that 4 fire stations slated for closure could be saved tonight. Some council members say they have found $8 million to keep them open. And now the city council is set to vote on whether or not to spend the money to spare the stations and reopen 2 that have already been temporarily closed. But as John Ramos reports, it does not mean more tough decisions won't be coming.
This is Fire Station 25, one of the locations recently closed for budget cuts. The good news is they may have found the money to reopen it, but it doesn't solve the larger budget problem, which is now starting to pit one group of city workers against another. The numbers are daunting. The budget deficit stands at $129 million in a city where the vast majority of money goes to paying workers, especially those who work in public safety jobs. So when fire stations 25 and 28 went dark in January, Councilmember Janani Ramachandran says the public reaction was immediate.
When these brownouts went into effect in January of this year, the communities across Oakland were outraged. And we listened to that outrage.
She and council members Rebecca Kaplan and Zach Unger began searching for money and found about $8 million in different places that could be put toward reopening the fire stations. That's what's before the council tonight.
The message from the Oakland community has been loud and clear. While there's a lot of competing interest for limited dollars, nothing trumps public safety, and fire stations are the bread and butter of public safety.
But the money would only keep the stations open until June, when the new fiscal year begins. And the cuts that could be coming will likely be even deeper. The various employee unions, including the firefighters, blame the city for mismanagement, but they also point to more than $50 million of overspending by the police department, much of it going to pay overtime to officers. But police union head Huy Nguyen says that's only happening because the force has lost about 25% of its officers over the years, while the number of calls for help has grown.
Issues of blaming us for the problem. The problem is that city leadership needs to adequately staff the police department and also provide the number of funding that it should be. So we can provide service, or make some really tough decision to cut the services that we're providing. And I don't think anybody's willing to do that.
But it does seem like they're willing to cut the fire department. So doesn't that pit you against them in some ways when it comes to the budget?
I mean, we look at the numbers and we look at the percentage of money that's being spent. And you look at the fire department percentage of how much they spent on overtime compared to the percentage on how much we are spent. The overall number is bigger by numbers, but the percentage is greater into the fire department.
But the firefighters union president, Seth Ollier, says their overtime is the result of more than 80,000 annual calls for service at a time when stations are being shut down.
Oaklanders will die if they have to wait for emergency services. That is a fact. Houses will burn to the ground. This is not me being melodramatic. These are facts. As far as pitting one group against one another, this is a zero-sum game. There's only so much money to go around. And yes, if it was up to me, I would keep every station fully staffed and open. That is my goal.
At this point, it's a problem without a real solution. All departments will likely take a hit when the budget axe finally swings. The employee unions accuse the city of mismanagement, but Oakland's fiscal hole comes from having more workers than it can afford, no matter how valuable they may be.